Så ja, varmt välkomna tillbaka efter lunchen. Vi kommer snart att fortsätta på filmspåret. Men innan dess så vill jag betona eller återigen upprepa att en del i programmet har gått bort och det är Staffan Gerlöfs presentation som ska äga rum 13:30. Vi kommer inte skjuta fram programmet utan vi ger de andra två presentatörerna lite mer tid för det var såna korta presentationer. Så då kommer det förmodligen också finnas utrymme för frågor där. Så att vi håller programpunkterna som planerat. Som sagt var, mer film. Och jag vill hälsa Lars-Martin Sørensen. Välkommen.
Tack, tack.
Forskningsledare, Danska Film Institute, pH.d. i filmvetenskap. Och ska tala om Denmark on Film, Streaming Historical Consciousness. Varsågod.
Tack. I'm going to be doing this presentation in English, knowing that when I speak Danish, I speak very fast, and you do, of course, all understand Danish, but not when I speak it very fast. I'm going to be talking, as just mentioned, on a streaming site run by the Danish Film Institute called Denmark on Film, Danmark på film. We've got it on screen up here, and I'm just going to show you one of my favorite clips. If I'm online, it would appear that I'm not. Well, in any case, we'll leave the film out. I'm going to show you the main page of the site is this map of Denmark. So this is what users meet first. You have a lot of little red dots, and each and every one of them points to different film clips. Dotted all over the map, and there's a section for the North Atlantic islands to the Faroe Islands, Iceland and Greenland. Something very strange happens here when I'm not touching the computer. Can anyone help me? Thomas? I have a computer problem. I didn't do it. Ghost in a machine. This project was started in 2015 when we received a small grant of money from the Danish Ministry of Culture. 2.5 million Danish kroner. And we set about building this website in order to make use of the scrap of the film archive. By the scrap of the film archive, I mean old recordings, footage that is never seen, bits and pieces from old newsreels, all sorts of private and amateur film recordings that have been collected and preserved by the film archives since 1941 when it first was started in Denmark. And we had all this stuff lying on the shelves, and it's all very valuable historical recordings showing everyday life and activities of Danes all over the country, and nobody ever looked at it. Because it was on the shelves, it was analog, you couldn't access it, no one knew really what was there to be found. And so we set about getting the old films out and digitizing them and putting them up on this web page. And much to our surprise, a lot of people out there thought that was a really, really brilliant idea because within the first 3 months online, we had more than 100,000 viewers visiting the sites. In 2017, throughout the year, we had more than 1 million page views on this particular web page, which we cannot find, so I cannot show you. So very quickly we realized that we have an unexpected success on our hands here. And once you realize that, you start thinking, how can I capitalize on this find that I've done? How can we make it bigger? How can we make it better? And last but not least, how can we get some more money to do some more digitization? Because we only started out having about 50 films on site. Here's my favorite film. Yeah, thanks. And that was only a very, very tiny bit of the preserved number of films in the analog archive. I'm going to show you a small clip here. As I said earlier, this is my favorite film. It's from 1903. And it's got this guy on it. So this is what you get when you go searching by keywords. The criteria for putting films on the map is that we can either place them geographically or on a timeline. This one can be placed geographically because it takes place at a hospital in Copenhagen. I wanted to show you this just after lunch because this is what you should do if you've eaten too much. Perhaps not anyhow. Don't try it at home. It could be dangerous. He's a specialist, this guy. He's a part of a research project done by a doctor called Claude Hansen, who was a very early pioneer of research into men's physiology while doing gymnastics. Whoop. Fantastic, isn't it? Now, stuff like this has been lying around, not ever used, and I mean, now we can see it. And what we also do is, when we got stuff like this, we have an opportunity to tell a story about early research into men's physiology and gymnastics. And then we add themes to the site on different topics. Now, this one, coincidentally, on the headline, was written by me. And it deals with Politikens news journals, what are they called, newsreels? Journalfilm in Swedish. We also have a timeline where you can scroll through the decades, and what you see is that the number of clips on the right-hand side will then change. All sorts of stuff. Midsummer's parade on Vestergade in Copenhagen. Workers gathering in Holstebro, that's in Jylland, in the province. A citizen from Faaborg Realskole, that's a school, has a royal visitor. So it's this sort of stuff. Brief clips, but also films. We started loading up documentary works by more or less famous Danish documentarists on the site too. And this is clickbait in a manner you couldn't imagine. I mean, they're seen by thousands of people every month. So, this is the site. And once you have a thing like that, you can start speculating, why does it work? And that is what I'm going to be doing here today. I call it streaming historical consciousness, which perhaps a bit over the top, at least it's imprecise. So just to sum up, we've got documentaries and footage. Most of the films on the site are primarily public domain, no rights holders alive any longer. At least we don't know who they are, so they don't get any payment. We have map, we have theme articles, you can search by keywords, there's a timeline as I just showed you. And what I did not mention is that there's user participation. You can add comments to the different film clips. This is something that is eagerly done by a number of users. Some of these comments that do come along are purely informative, tells you this is not the place you say it is, this is my backyard in 1952, and I know because I grew up there. Other comments are more personal. We have a few films on foster homes, care homes for children from the 50s, 60s that we uploaded. And you get comments from the now adults that used to live in these places, and some of them are actually some of them are sort of sad. They tell witness stories about how they were beaten in this particular place. So we're not just doing a feel-good kind of things that sort of lends itself to perfect nostalgia. Some of these old films do stir up emotions in the users, something with which we are quite happy, because then the track under the films with the user comments suddenly explodes and people have a debate online. As you can see down here, oh, no you can't, now you can. We have a detective's corner where users are invited to contribute with their information on the different clips if we don't know precisely where a film was from. So there's a certain degree of user engagement and involvement on the site. We've done user surveys, trying to find out who are the people who are sitting out there doing all these wonderful clicks on our site. And what we found is that it is primarily the broad public, mostly elderly people. And what they all do is they go down memory lane, and the first place they click is the place where they were born or the place where they went to school, in order to see what have they got from my backyard. We have a lot of nerds and geeks visiting the sites, people who are deeply infatuated with trams, trains, planes, boats, animals, that sort of stuff. And the thing about the social media is that they cater to these kinds of people too. So if we can plant the news that we've got films on trains and in Facebook for train lovers, we're positive that by the end of the week we'll see the curve, the user curve go pew. So that's one way of getting this old stuff, this cultural heritage, these historical films out there being used by the people who paid for them to be made in the first place and to be preserved and put online and so on and so forth. We also have a lot of professionals using the sites. Teachers, not just film and media teachers, but teachers of history, teachers of geography, Danish lessons in school. They also visit the site, use it. We are in the fortunate situation at the moment that educational publishers who make electronic teaching material have started to use the site, so they're embedding historical film clips from our site into their history portals where students can go and find tests and all sorts of stuff for school. We have other cultural heritage institutions, museums especially, are keen users of the site. More and more you see video screens and installations in museums of almost any kind. And also the regional media are really happy to use it. When I visited the old people's home, it's nice to be able to show the town square in 1920 and they find the clip on our site and use it for a handling fee, nothing expensive, but affordable to regional television station. And as I said, we had 1 million page views in 2017, and the most craziest thing that happened is that we put films on the Faroe Islands, and for a week or 2 weeks, they scored the highest score of clicks because everybody in the Faroe Islands wanted to see what we'd put on there. I mean, a disproportionate large percentage of the population actually visited the site when they realized that that their historical films were online. As I already said, this was an unexpected success, but not an inexplicable success, because if you read this book on the right-hand side, The Presence of the Past by Rosenzweig and Thielen, you will find a large survey study of the historical consciousness or the uses of history by scores of Americans. 1,500 people were engaged in this survey. And what they found was that most people, when you ask them what they think about history, they go, "Oh man, that was something I had in school. That was a giant data dump." I've written on the page that that's a quote from the book. Something where prison guards sort of checked that the students had learned their history curriculum. Something which wasn't really that interesting to any of the people surveyed in this large-scale survey. But if you ask them about their past, all of a sudden, everyone was interested, wanted to talk about it in positive terms. So we're all interested in the past, and we're especially interested in our own past. Now, the thing with the map that shows a historical film of your hometown next to a clip from, say, the occupation era is that it couples personal history with national history. So in a sense, you could say we have an entry point with a local history, somebody's past into national history. And that's something that we're really pleased with, because we don't just want to cater to people who want to see the school they used to go in 1967 or something like that. We would like this to be an educational site too. Also, I think one of the reasons why it works and why users come flocking to this site is that the past is represented by means of films. And films are not books. Anyone can sit down and watch a film. It unfolds in front of your eyes. You don't have to be especially qualified. You don't have to have a degree in history to understand what's going on. It's people right there doing whatever these people do. It's perfectly intuitive, and you can just watch it and understand it. Get fascinated. Did they really wear these silly trousers in the 1970s? Oh yes, they did. So the local films, I think, serves as an entry point to national history in many cases. Then there are a number of very welcome side effects to this project. We've had it now for 3 years. After 2 years, we received a special grant from the government of $17 million. This is not a lot of money compared to what they pour into digitizing films in Sweden. I know 40 million Swedish kroner. I mean, I'm green with envy. But at least it got us somewhere. And the reason why we got this money is that in Denmark, like I suppose is the case in Sweden, there is this political trend, sort of longing for the nostalgic past. Everything was better back in the 1950s before the Muslims arrived, so we'd better put cultural heritage from the good old days online in order to educate the Danes of their history. That is bluntly put, I know, but that was partially the reason why we had a special allotment of money from the government. We also found now, because now we've really gotten hungry, that this is an excellent pilot to use for trying to find more funding. Jesus Christ, we've got 40,000 titles in the Film Archive. Only 1% of the analog film heritage has been digitized in Denmark, so we can spend a lot of money. So I've been, over the last couple of years, writing up a huge funding application, and we've reached the magic digit, the number of millions that we would like to continue this effort. 107 million Danish kroner is what we're asking for, humbly, politely of course, but we are asking $170 million from private foundations in Denmark. When we do so, being able to show them this site, this is what we're talking about, this is what we can do with it. We can then point to Facebook profiles on the regional television stations and say, hey, look, this is how it works out there when people are being interviewed in relation to historical clips from this site. So it's a brilliant model for us to go to private foundations and say, look, we have only digitized about 5% of the stuff we got. There are blind white spots on the map that areas in Denmark that are not covered. We've got no films from the German minority in southern Jutland. I mean, that's not the way to go about doing film heritage outreach work in 2017. We need more money. And once we show them this site, they understand immediately what we're on about, and it makes it a hell of a lot easier to talk to big foundations. So the next step, we hope, and we're working on it, is to start funding the digitization of the remaining 99% of the film archive. And as I said, 177 million Danish kroner is sort of the magical digit, and what we are planning to try to get and to spend over a 7-year period. Once we've done that, we've only digitized about 1/3 of the holdings in the archive. But we'll have a map of Denmark, which is with a lot more little red dots on it. We'll have much more representation of various geographical, ethnic details all over the country and in the North Atlantic islands too. And we have reasons to be cheerful and hopeful, as I've written down there. We are negotiating with the 3 major private foundations that do spend money on cultural heritage in Denmark. And they do not consider us complete idiots when we come and say, hey, look, we need $107 million kroner. Give them to us. They say, sounds feasible. Let's talk. That's where we are right at this moment. Hopefully, within 6 months or so, we know a lot better. what we're also doing, or hoping to do with this extra money, is to go in, enter into a dialogue with local archives all over the place. We're a central archive, we're a state-owned film archive, we're the film archive in Denmark. But there's a lot of local archives who've got film collections. They've got collections of historical photos, documents, and so on. And these days we are entering sort of a pilot cooperation project with 5 archives from different parts of Denmark, where we ask them to look into their holdings. What have they got on their shelves? Films primarily, but also photos. Could any of this stuff be digitized and then uploaded to Denmark on film? The answer is yes. Wherever we ask, they say yes, this could be done and we would like to do it. So we do cooperate with local archives on curating what films, what materials should then next be uploaded to this site. We do the digitization. We help them promote this in their local areas. We help them do press work. We help them get the stuff on the regional television station. The only condition that we stipulate from the Danish Film Institute is that the local archives must then have some sort of local activity. They must gather people around, look at these films, perhaps crowdsource information, metadata. What is this film? Who are the people on it? What are they doing? Where does it take place? Approximately when? And this is something that is sort of it's on a sketching board at the moment. We haven't realized it yet. But judging from the interest by the broad public in contributing with information on clips that we don't know the origin of, I think there's a really good chance that we can get some action going in local archives and museums where people meet, watch these films, try and find out where do they come from. Also, what we're planning to do is some of this stuff is stipulated by the foundations we apply for money from. They want people to meet physically. They want people to engage in the discussion. They also would like people to meet across generations. So one of the schemes we're working with is take Granny to the movies and see historical films, or school children making new films in the same spots where the old ones were recorded, and then put it online for a local exhibition. This is never going to make its way to Denmark on film, but some of the historical films out there will. And we've already started having films coming in, and we have a very interesting collection collected by the Deutsches Museum in Sonderburg, which is the German museum in Sønderborg, southern part of Denmark. And they have a pretty large film collection of the life and culture of the German minority in the southern part of Jutland. I'm looking very much forward to putting that online. So this is sort of a step out of the Führer bunker of the Danish Film Institute in order to cooperate with local archives and then to make things happen out there while we at the same time aggregate more films for Denmark on films, which then be communicated at a national level. And I'm hopeful that we will do this, and we will also get perhaps not 107 million, but then at least 50 million Danish kroner by the end of the year. No more, no less.
Tack så jättemycket. Vi har tid för frågor. Och Daniel finns här någonstans med en mikrofon, tror jag, bestämt. Om det är någon som skulle vilja ställa en fråga. Det går säkert utmärkt att ställa den på svenska.
Och det är okej att tala svensk till mig, det kan jag godt forstå, hvis bare det går langsomt.
Ja. Okej, ta det på svenska. Tack så mycket. Jag undrar om någon vill använda en film i arkivet som ni har. Hur har ni liksom tecknat det? Är det en Creative Commons? Finns det regler kring hur man citerar att den finns i ert arkiv? Och om du kan berätta kring hur det kan gå till om någon vill använda något som ni har?
Om nogen vil anvende noget, som vi har, så gælder der andre regler. Vi er en institution under Kulturministeriet, og derfor kan vi uploade de her film til nettet, uden, altså på nogle specielle vilkår, ifølge dansk ophavsrettighedslov. Did anyone get that? If a television broadcaster, for instance, nu taler jeg engelsk igen, nu skal jeg nok tale dansk. Hvis en tv-station gerne vil bruge klip fra sitet her, så gælder der nogle andre regler. Og meget af materialet er public domain, så det kan de bruge frit. Vi tager et håndteringsgebyr, handling fee, 1.500 danske kroner, for at udstyre en tv-station med en fil. Hvis der er musik på, så kan der være rettighedsforhold, som gør, at nogen skal betales for musikken på klippet, ikke? Selv hvis vi har erklæret det public domain. Så der kan være nogle komplikationer, men meget store dele af det materiale, der ligger på sitet, måske 90% eller så, er public domain hele vejen igennem og kan frit bruges. Museer, skoler, biblioteker og andre, ja, det kan alle, kan embedde fra sitet. Også omkring 90% af filmene kan du frit embedde på din egen computerskærm, på biblioteket, på museet, wherever. Du kan ikke downloade dem. Der skal du spørge os på DFI. Svarer jeg på de spørgsmål? Godt.
Jag har en fråga där på sidan.
Han får sin motion.
Det är bra.
Ja, jag funderar över deltagarna, sån här user participation, de här diskussionerna som var så spännande. Kommer de att bevaras på något sätt? Har ni planerat att göra det? Som arkivarie funderar man lite på.
Det forstod jeg ikke. Tal langsommere, eller tal engelsk.
I can take it in. I can say it in English.
Yeah.
The user participation, the comments. Are you planning on preserving them in some way as type of metadata connected to the films?
I can show you how it works. If the site is still working. Now we'll see if it does. Because it's like a commentary track, which is under the films, and we are preserving it on site. I can't search with Swedish letters on this one, can I? And the trouble is, it's either Rødovre or Børnehjem, and you can't write that without a Danish ø. I'm gonna try. No, I can't. Well, never mind. The commentaries will be on site. Then we have a Facebook page from the Danish Film Museum where a lot of babble is going on. That also relates to these clips. And you know how it is with Facebook tracks. They just go on forever, and in the end, they slowly fade away like General MacArthur, I guess. So we don't actively preserve the stuff that takes place on the adjacent Facebook page. The stuff that takes place on site is moderated. There's an editor when the comments come in, and she looks, was there anything outrageously stupid, offensive, sexist, racist, or whatever in this comment? If there is, it will never make its way to the page. If it's relevant, interesting, or just harmless, we put it on the site, and it will stay there. User participation, that's one thing I didn't mention, also means that you can share clips. You can make your own clip in those films and share it via social media. So you can actually be a nice girl of 17 and send your grandma a 1-minute clip of the school she went to when she was 17 back in 1920, providing that the school is on the map. And this goes on without us knowing it. We can't measure the scope of this. But I know it goes on.
It's an interesting question also. I was thinking about the user participation and whether the users could curate their own collections, or if that's something you plan for, they can map it. And you mentioned crowdsourcing or citizen science. Would that be an engine for new research, for example? Is that something to do?
It's very hard to administer. We had the very first site had the option for users to make their own clip and put it on the map. Then they had to find a film, make a clip, send it to us, and we could then put it on the map. The workload involved in doing this is staggering once people start doing it. So we're sort of considering canceling that option. Also because when you have a map like the one we've got, you can only put a certain number of red dots on the map, and then it becomes ridiculous. This red dot covers 100 films. This is Copenhagen. So then you have to group them. And once you start letting users putting their own pins on the map, it gets ridiculous. And the map disappears and there will only be pins. So there has to be some sort of balance there.
Good.
That's the thing with users. You like them to use your stuff, but not too much.
No, exactly. Finding the balance. Thank you so much. Tack.
Thank you.